All right. Hello, hello, and welcome. Welcome to all of you practice builders. A special warm welcome to our guest today, Amber Gorley. And I'm going to introduce Amber in just a minute. You want to say hello, Amber?
Hello, happy afternoon or morning or evening, wherever in the world you are today.
I'm super excited to have Amber here with me. Amber and I go back quite a long way, so it's always such a treat when I get to spend some time with her, and especially in this format where we get to share her wisdom, right? So we'll get more into that in just a few minutes. But before I jump in, a big warm welcome to each and every one of you that's joining me, those of you that are joining the live stream, as well as those of you that are going to catch the replay. So going to provide lots of juicy tips and strategies and lots of good stuff for you today. So Leslie Bytel here for those of you that don't know me, and I'm a business coach and mentor for functional nutrition professionals. And as some of you know, in my work, I help health professionals in private practice specifically really to overcome that sense of confusion, that overwhelm that's so incredibly common on the business side of building a thriving practice. So I help you streamline all those strategies, ultimately create a very profitable practice and allowing you to get paid really well doing the work that you love. So before we jump into today's content, I do want to remind you, or those of you that, maybe this is the first time you have heard, that I am doing a complimentary 4-day challenge next week. And it's on a really juicy topic. It is all about how to create multiple streams of income for your health practice. So want to encourage you to go ahead and save your seat for that, right? So I'm going to put the link on the screen so that you have that. Alrighty, where is it? There we go. So this is a bit.ly link. So you're going to want to type it in. I think it's actually case sensitive. So it's bit.ly/Amber RDN. All right. So go ahead and jump on over to that registration page and save your seat, because I'm going to be dishing on really my favorite strategies in terms of helping you to create those multiple revenue streams. So, all righty. So that is the big announcement for today. So today, Amber and I are going to be talking to you about boundaries, right? Such an important topic. So Amber's going to share how tightening boundaries within her business actually helped her to literally double her revenue in 2020 during a pandemic, no less. And it enabled her to cross that six-figure threshold. So I'm really excited to be talking to Amber. Amber happens to be a former client of mine, so we go back a long way. And Amber is going to share a little bit more about herself, but I will mention to you that she in Johnson City, Tennessee. So Amber, why don't you share just a little bit about your background and just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I actually am a second career dietitian. My first career in life was actually in business. I was in human resources. And after a few years of that, decided it was definitely not the route for me. And went back to school, became a dietitian. And I always knew in school that I wanted to do outpatient. That was where my passion was and is. And after working for several years in several outpatient positions, I decided it was time to open my own practice. I wasn't happy where I was at. I don't do bureaucracy well. I work for the VA. Anybody who works for the VA knows exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm just a terrible employee. So
Oh my gosh, tell us about that. You're a terrible employee. Is that how you came up with your first business name?
No, my husband came up with that because, which is the disobedient dietitian, because I look at things differently. And we really kind of wanted to change the paradigm of what people thought of a dietitian, and kind of challenge the old way of thinking. But yeah, I like to march to the beat of my own drum, and I think those of us that are through and through entrepreneurs can appreciate that. So about 3-4 years ago, went full time in the business. Originally, I was going to be a solo practitioner. I founded the Dietitians and Virtual Practice group. It was going to be all virtual, and I ended up going completely backwards. I went brick and mortar. I built a team, and went insurance based. So originally I was going to be cash based, and I did end up going insurance based, which we can kind of talk about the reasoning for some of those decisions. But right now, as we sit, we have a physical office. I'm in it now. Sorry for the lighting. But I have 2 dietitians that work for me and an admin. We do our own billing in-house. And it's been quite the journey, but not one that I would change much of.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, well, I can't wait to dig into the details. So, just real quick, I see more people are joining. I want to welcome you. Let me kind of give everyone a brief overview of some of the topics that we're going to delve into today with Amber here as our special guest. So, we're going to talk about the key practice management boundaries that resulted in shifting Amber's focus to income producing activities. All right. So this is going to be really important. It's something I really enjoy talking about, income producing activities versus busy work. Okay. Super important. We're going to be talking about how plugging those revenue leaks in her practice was one of the contributing factors that enabled her to double her income. And again, guys, we're talking 2020, okay, during the pandemic. And again, cross that 6-figure threshold. We'll touch on the steps involved in adding multiple income streams to the Heal You business model, which again, Heal You is this amazing practice that Amber started in Tennessee. So she's going to share a little bit more about that. And of course, we have a lot more of juicy tidbits to share in between. So, let's start our conversation just a little bit, because as I mentioned before, we go back pretty far, and I'm just curious, what are your thoughts? Share a little bit about your thoughts in terms of, working with a coach to help achieve your business goals, right? So, specifically, what your thoughts are around focusing on the business side of building your practice, not in exclusion, of course, because, of course, we need to always be building our clinical aptitude, but maybe you can talk a little bit about your thoughts around that. I know you're a coach yourself, so I'm sure you have some opinions around that. And then, share with the audience a little bit around the results that you experienced from our work together.
So great questions. So, a lot of dietitians and probably other health practitioners as well really struggle with, well, when do I invest in the business? When do I hire a coach? And I really think that answer is going to be different for each person, right? Just like we do in nutrition, it's individualized. A coach can definitely be a good investment to help you work through mindset blocks, whether it's pricing strategy, whether it's coming up with ideas for other ways to generate revenue. Someone that has worked with a lot of other clients that can kind of share their past experiences with you, what has worked and what hasn't worked, can really be invaluable as you're starting up. Again, Leslie, these dietitians that just hit the ground running and they're, in their first year doing really, really well. But then there's others of us that really struggle and need that guiding hand. And I think it's important to not be afraid of the investment. If you need to take the leap, and the rest will work itself out. I know that sounds a little cliche, but it really is true. It's really about picking the right person to guide you on that journey. And that will change over time. I worked with RD coaches. I've worked with non-RD coaches. I've worked with financial coaches. And each one has been very pivotal in that moment to my business.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah. And I think you hit on something that I think is really important. A lot of times we look at investments as a cost, right?
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's so interesting. Um, it's really an investment. What is the definition of an investment? Well, I don't know if this is the official definition, but it's basically, you're investing your resources into something that's going to provide, value to you over time, right? And in this case, with business mentoring, ideally, you're going to make your investment back much faster, right? Don't forget, time is money. It truly is. You're going to be able to help more people and get yourself unstuck so much faster, right? I mean, it's amazing. And I can attest to this. Like I definitely walk my talk. I mean, I always have at least one coach on my team. Always.
And
So, yeah, go ahead.
I like to think about it in terms of our clients are coming to us because they can't do it on their own, right? They're going to get there faster with our help. And really that's what a coach does for us. It's the exact same concept as what we're selling to our clients. So
That's a great point. I mean, it is pretty, if you're not investing in yourself, how can you expect your clients to invest in you, right? I mean, seriously, if you look at it that way. Yeah, it is, I think it's super important. And like, why reinvent the wheel? Because there are so many people that have gone before you in this, in these practice building strategies. So it can really streamline your process, definitely catapult your results in a much shorter period of time.
yeah.
So awesome. So let's jump into a conversation around those boundaries, right? Because that's one of the things that I really wanted to touch on today. I hear it all the time. I hear it all the time from my audience. Boundaries are difficult, right? Because it makes us afraid. Like, oh my gosh, if I don't do XYZ for everybody, are they going to get mad at me? Am I going to lose people? Is it going to, is my bank account going to take a hit as a result? But this is one of the things that you did, Amber, in your practice that really ended up, being a very positive. Can you share a little bit about that? Like, what did you do? How did you decide? And like, how do you stick with it?
So, looking back, ironically enough, I think one of the biggest boundaries, like the first boundary, and I swear every time you take a step over a boundary, it gets easier and easier. But the first one was financial boundaries. Like I totally revamped my accounting system and I put boundaries around my money, which allowed me to actually start paying myself and focus more on growing the business versus just throwing money out the window. That was huge, making that shift. And then once I put boundaries around money, I did start seeing where we were losing a lot of it. And for us, one of the first things I really focused on last year, especially, was no shows, like cancellations. We are insurance based. We have some different arrangements with different practitioners in the area, and so we get some of those no shows and cancellations. And it's really easy to brush that under the rug and not want to go after that lost income and that lost revenue. But it's really, really important because not only do we have to protect our time, right? If we don't make money, we don't serve the community we want to serve. And that's really important when we're thinking about money and boundaries. Is if I don't enforce this boundary, will I have a business to do what I love and to serve the people I want to love? And two, we're holding the client accountable, which is what we do, right? We help hold people accountable to make those changes. And so it really is in love and creating that synergistic relationship with our client when we put those boundaries in place. So that was a big one. And then another one was going after lost revenue. Again, I think it's so easy to be like, well, they're not going to pay that $100, or it's too much work to go after that payment. And it's really not. You come up with a system and a strategy. And again, it's a boundary, right? I'm no longer going to allow you to abuse my services or not pay for the value that I've given you. So those were two, and there's some more, but those were two really big ones that I put into place that really helped a lot.
All right. So yeah, let's break that down a little bit more. Okay. Especially the because I'm guessing that so many people are really, really interested in the no-show, right? Especially I mean, it is one of the things that, like, if you're in a cash model and if you're selling programs and packages, like, that is one of the advantages, is your no-show is going to be definitely decreased, right? But guys, there's pros and cons to everything. If you're in the insurance model, it is one of those things that you're going to have to contend with. And so I'm curious, like, how can you give us some of the steps that you did or implemented to, yeah, just kind of give us a sense of some of the details that you put into play? Like, how did you communicate? How did you decide how much to charge? Do you give people a one-time chance, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so those are all really great questions. So communication is really, really important. In fact, one of the reasons I decided to get clear boundaries with that was my own therapist. Like, at your first appointment, that's what you do. You sign a completely separate document talking about, the cancellation fee. And here's why we enforce this. So it's more than just we charge a fee, but really under explaining why that exists to begin with. And so we completely rewrote our forms and policies, and it's very clear. Here's the fee, here's why it exists, here are the exceptions. Medical emergency, car accident. There's a few little caveats in there. So being clear on the front end, obviously important. And then as far as how did I come to a price, I started looking on Facebook and looking at what other dietitians were charging. And I started using that as a baseline. So about $75 is what I started with. And then this year, it's really $75 is less than what we make per session. And I wanted it to be more at what we would charge or get reimbursed for. And so I bumped it up to $100 for a no-show fee or a late cancellation fee. And that feels really good because, again, we're honoring the business that we have to serve others, and we ask the same in return from our clients.
Absolutely. And in the insurance model, I mean, you have set aside that time for that client, right? And so you're literally losing money if you don't fill that slot with somebody else. So tell me a little bit about the reaction that you've gotten from clients. Are you getting pushback? Has that had any kind of negative impact on your business, or has it all been positive?
So part of having clear communication up front means that when someone challenges your policy, you can actually show them where they have agreed to your policy. And I did have one particular client who was a no-show. I charged the card per our policy, and I did get a very quick email saying I didn't authorize this. I want to reverse. I downloaded where he had signed. I emailed it back, and that was the end of that.
Okay.
So, just holding to those boundaries is really important as well. I think somebody asked how many clients did we lose? That particular client, I don't think they were going to come back anyway. They just didn't want to tell us. Maybe 2, maybe 3. And I look at those as they probably weren't that invested in the process anyway. And so it's not anything I'm going to lose sleep over.
Right. And then, like, think about all you had to gain. So 2 or 3, honestly, you're probably going to lose 2 or 3 anyway. I think you're exactly right there.
Yeah.
So, so great job. I think it's awesome. And I got to say, so many people I talk to, so many practitioners are really terrified to put this into play,
It's hard.
right?
It's a hard
It is
decision.
hard. It's scary and it's hard. So I don't want to sugarcoat that at all.
No, I still struggle enforcing it sometimes. Like I will be very honest. Like there are those clients I love, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But
But here's the other part. You have to be fair,
mhm,
right? You can't play favorites.
yep,
And I mean, it's just, it is important to try to stay congruent and consistent across the board. Otherwise, then it really could end up feeling not so good,
right.
right? And so, really, really recommend that. And I'm hoping that if you're listening to this, and especially if you're in that insurance model, that you take heed because I think it's really good advice. Um, we need to create those boundaries and really value ourselves. Like, how can we expect other people to value what we do if we are not valuing, our time ourselves, right? So it's a really important, like, it's just a super important message that you're sending to your audience, quite frankly. So I love that. Awesome. So yeah, so let's talk a little bit about, yeah, so those revenue leaks, right? You had mentioned that a little bit, Amber, that you really decided that you were going to go after those payments and that it actually is worth it, right? Instead of just kind of letting it go and just kind of saying, oh, it's not worth it, right? It's too much work. So tell us a little bit about that process. Like, what were some of the steps you implemented to plug up those leaks?
Yeah. So my first instinct was I'm going to hire a collections agency and I'm going to let them do my dirty work. Right. And
Right?
I had a wonderful conversation with a really, I think, a wonderful agency that was referred to me. And their advice was, hey, like, try it yourself first and then come back to us. And so I did. I wrote up a letter. I was clear that if it wasn't paid, it would go to a collections agency. And I dropped it in the mail. And I think we collected around $1,000. I applied late fees. Like I went all out. I applied late fees. I applied late fees to no-show fees. I got paid for no-show fees that way. I got some nasty letters. I had one particular person who was going to turn me into the Better Business Bureau. And when that didn't bother me, I knew I'd made it. I mean, like, okay, whatever, dude. Like, you owed the bill. I'm not sure what the Better Business Bureau is going to help you with there, but you kind of laugh and you move on, and it's so much mindset, right?
Oh my gosh.
It's just being like, no, it's not okay for you to not pay your bills. I pay my bills. You pay your bills.
Yeah.
Pay your bills, and then ask me for it. If you don't ask, the answer is absolutely always no.
Exactly. I love this. So you realize that you didn't have to pay an outside agency to do what you call the dirty work. You could do it on your own. And you get, you don't have to pay them a super high percentage, which is
Yeah.
brilliant. I love that. So, yeah, guys, really, the moral to the story is this can be really scary stuff. It absolutely can be, but you guys, this is a business, right? It's not a well, maybe for some people, maybe it is a hobby, right? I guess, and guys, there's nothing wrong with that, truly. If you consider your business to be a hobby, zero judgment. But if you are operating as a business, the very definition of a business is that you generate a profit, right? You operate as a business, you are paid, a nice amount because of all your education and training, and most importantly, because of the life-changing value you provide to your clients. And you deserve to be really paid very well for that work. So I just want to encourage everybody. I want to encourage you to really think about what are some of the holes in your revenue that you could work on and improve? So really be thinking about that. I'd love to hear in the comments what your thoughts are there. All right, so I'd love to delve into another topic because I mean, Amber, you've done such an amazing job with this particular area, and this is another question that I get all the time. How can I grow my business by adding additional, additional people, like additional practitioners? In your case, you've got 2 RDNs, and more recently, you just added a therapist to your team. Can you share a little bit about, how you went about that? Any, tricks of the trade that you can share with everybody here?
Oh, I'm probably the worst person to mimic as far as that goes. I saw an opportunity and I took it. I hired 2 dietitians without having any clients for them. It's seeing the opportunity and knowing you can make it work and jumping. So one was an eating disorder dietitian. I knew the need was there. I worked in eating disorders. And it was very, very synergistic, right place, right time. And then I just started kind of building her caseload. And a lot of that really, again, goes back to communication. If you want to bring someone on, there's different ways to do it. One, you have so many referrals, you can just turn over and they're full all of a sudden, or you can take your own caseload and hand it off. Or you have the conversation of, here's my vision, here's where your skill set is, here's, how many clients I think we can give you per week, and then mentor them to building up that caseload, which I've done kind of both of those things. So yeah, it really depends on your risk factor or your comfortable.
Comfort level.
Yeah, your comfort level with risk. I know some dietitians won't hire until they have a full year's salary in the bank. That to me, that's not my style. But that's another way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so in terms of like the steps, so it sounds like for you, Amber, you came across a couple of awesome dietitians that you knew were going to be a good fit for your brand, right?
Yep.
And you knew that there was demand for their areas of expertise, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, but you didn't have this, like crazy busy practice at that time. So so that's a super interesting point, because so often, and guys, there's no one way to do this. I want to be really clear on that. I never look at a business and say, oh my gosh, it's never a cookie cutter kind of approach. So much of it is going to depend on, your needs, your lifestyle, what you're trying to accomplish, right? So many different variables that we need to consider. But in Amber's situation, she saw the opportunity, and instead of waiting until her practice was absolutely bursting at the seams, she decided to bring these 2 dietitians on board and then work to increase their busyness, so to speak, with clients.
Yeah, and the same thing will happen with our therapist. We don't have anyone lined up. We're both okay with that. She's in a position where that works for her. And so we'll just build her as we can.
Okay. Awesome. And then, so do you pay them? Like, how does that payment structure work?
Yeah, that's a really, really, really good question. So had I been left up to my own devices, I probably would have invested way too much in payroll. I practice what I preach. I believe it's important to pay RDs their value, but we live in an economic-based world. And so, I had to look at that and go, okay, well, what can I afford that's, equitable to the region, the area, where I can make a profit, they can make a profit, the business can make a profit. And I looked at it in that way. So I pay them a little bit less. They are W-2s, so I pay their taxes. My therapist will be an independent contractor, so that will be a slightly different setup. But I pay a percentage of the revenue that they bring in. So they still only get paid for the clients that they see. They get admin time per 6 clients. They get additional hourly rate there. And then I have a completely separate admin rate. again, we're not a big hospital. It's really hard for our small practices to pay the same amount across the board, especially when you are a small practice. Maybe we'll get there one day,
Right.
but we had to really think about how can we afford to have employees, everybody wins, and we stay in business. Pretty
right,
important.
right. Exactly. Like it's not a winning proposition if you can't afford to stay in business, right? Nobody wins with that. So, yeah.
And I communicate that to my employees too. Like, these are the reasons, like, these boundaries exist. I like having a job. You like having a job. Like, it's important to have those conversations. At least I think so.
I think it is too. It's key. And, and chances are I'm assuming pretty high that your RDs want to be with you. It gives them a lot of gratification. I'm guessing they want to be with you more than they want to be like in a clinical setting working for a hospital, right?
Yeah, they do.
So sometimes, there's a little bit of give and take there. So what I really love about this story is that you ventured outside of the RD space. That's what I think is so awesome, right? Like amazing to bring a therapist on board. And I know you've got other types of practitioners that you're planning on bringing on at a certain point, right? Do you want to share a little bit about that, the growth that you're planning?
Yeah, and I want to talk just the reality of our industry. I did not anticipate the difficulty of growing a practice with dietitians only. We want to whine and complain about health coaches being in our space. Well, I'm here to tell you they're there because there's a scarcity when it comes to registered dietitians. And we're even more scarce when it comes to the private practice space. So you find a good one, hold on to that. They're worth their weight in gold. So, for me, I pretty quickly realized that to grow the business to the revenue that I wanted, I needed other disciplines. I needed therapy on board. And our eventual growth plan is to bring in at least a massage therapist, possibly another mental health therapist, and then some other, not necessarily modalities, but other experiences. We're looking at float tank, we're looking at infrared sauna, to really create a holistic experience, but not putting all my eggs into just having dietitians. And I think if you want to grow a group practice, it's really a smart thing to look at is what other modalities are going to complement you that you're going to be able to hire.
I love that. Well, it's a great segue into the concept of multiple streams of income, right? Which I know is something that I love to talk about. I mean, really, guys, it is the very definition of a healthy business. Now, granted, can you go out and do it all at one time? No, right? You got to pick, plant your flag in the ground and have a starting point. So what I don't want to imply is that you go out and, all at one time, you're trying to grow your one-on-one business. You're trying to grow, like 20 different things. You have to really focus and one by one add different streams. So I do want to be clear about that, just because I don't want to contribute to overwhelm today.
One at a time.
One thing at a time, guys. Get traction with that one thing, and then you want to add a new revenue stream. All right, which again, I want to remind everybody, if you have not registered for my upcoming free event, please do so. Grab your seat at bit.ly/Amber RDN. All right, so this is a 4-day, completely complimentary workshop series that I'll be offering next week, starting Tuesday, the 9th of February. And we'll be meeting every day at 12 noon Central, and I'll be sharing lots of strategies. I will literally be helping you to map out your multiple stream of income plan, all right? Doing some forecasting, which is super important. So make sure you save your spot. All right, so on that note, share with us a little bit about, your next steps. I know that you've got a membership. I think it's up and running. Why don't you tell us where things are with that? I know memberships are like the hot topic right now. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. So, yeah, why don't you share where you are at in terms of adding additional streams
Sure.
of revenue?
So So I will say first that I worked with Leslie, I don't know, a year ago, maybe a little bit over a year ago. We worked
Yeah.
together for quite some time, and I'm still implementing a lot of what we came up with in our work together, which is a good thing, right? To have, that much that you can continue to pull off of. And memberships definitely is a big one. Again, for me, it's very much mindset, kind of getting into that mental space. So the membership will be launching this month or next month. There's a few systems issues to work out, but I want to tell you what gave me the confidence to do the membership, which is a really interesting segue. So we talked about plugging the revenue streams, and one of our or the revenue leaks rather, one of our leaks has been verifying benefits for our clients. It's a big time suck, and not everyone will book an appointment. And so, as a stepping stone, we decided that we're going to charge. We're going to offer a benefits verification service, and we now charge to check benefits. And I was terrified. I thought we would lose clients. I thought people would kick back. No, I wish I'd done it years ago. Which I'm sure I'm going to feel the exact same way when we launch the membership, because that's another revenue leak. Truly, the time that we spend in between clients. I am personally more comfortable with starting with a lower price point and increasing the price point as it grows. So we will start probably pretty low to gain some momentum and to work out some of the kinks and the bugs. And I will probably start with one segment of our business, like our eating disorders, pilot it with that group, and then expand it to like our diabetes clients. That's how I plan to approach that. But I think it's going to work really well and be quite lucrative this year, because our plan is to more than double our revenue this year. And we're on track to do that already.
I love that. You doubled it last year during the pandemic. You hit that six-figure mark, and we're going to double it again in 2021. I love that.
Yep.
So, guys, there is something that I really, really want to emphasize here. And those of you that have, joined me for, prior live stream trainings, this is one of I'm just so passionate about helping you to get paid for all the stuff you're doing in between sessions. Okay. So I'm going to be really blunt here. If you are in the insurance model or the cash model for that matter, and not in a program and package type of situation, like let's say you're in the insurance model or the cash model doing the one session at a time, kind of a payment model, I'm going to advocate for you. Please stop doing all that extra work in between clients, all the emailing back and forth, verification of all these, benefits. Like, really, really want to recommend that you just stop. I know that's so shocking, but seriously, like, you don't have to charge like crazy amounts for that, but this is a perfect way to bundle things up and put it inside of a monthly membership. And so I have a really super popular Facebook Live training that I did, I don't know, maybe a few weeks ago with one of my clients, Carrie Riker, who actually happens to be a dietitian in Nashville. So, kind of one of your neighbors, Amber. And she literally makes, no exaggeration, minimum of $2,000 extra each month by doing this exact thing that we're talking about here. So it's huge. And to be honest with you, I know she could bump that price up. And I also know she could increase the number of people in that membership. So, $2,000 is really just, I think, a starting point. So lots of opportunity there. So, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, it's also changing the way that people approach healthcare. I believe that a lot of the things that we allow to happen and we think people expect is because we've allowed the system to not hold people accountable. Um, and so it really is, it's holding everyone accountable for our time and our resources and our energy and what we're giving. And that's how I've started looking at it. And it really helps from the mindset to look at it in that way, at least for me.
Yeah, well, you're looking at it like a CEO, right?
Yeah.
You really are like you've adopted the CEO mindset, which is super important. Of course, we're at the end of the day, we're providers I mean, we're caring, we care about our clients. We want them to get great results. But really at the same time, again, we need to have boundaries in place, respect our time, because if we don't, other people certainly are not, right? So it really is setting a precedent across the board within your business model. So really important. So Amber, it's been awesome. I love hanging out with you. Thank you so much for joining me today. Is there anything else that you want to add before we wrap up?
I think getting support, kind of what we started the conversation on, is really, really important. There's certainly no way I would have worked through, and implemented so much of what we talked about today had I not had those coaches, on at different points during my growth. And obviously I'll continue to work with coaches because growing is a never ending game, right? We're always going to expand into our fullest potential, and having someone like yourself to push us into that potential or show us what that potential is really invaluable.
I love it. All right, guys. So one last reminder, if you haven't saved your seat yet, I am going to put this, let's see, there we go. So go ahead. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, I'm going to be having a 4-day completely complimentary workshop happening. We're going to start on Tuesday, right? We're going to meet every day for about an hour, 12 noon Central. So Tuesday through Friday. And we're going to do some forecasting and planning so you can create multiple streams of income. So one of the big results I think that you're going to walk away is a plan. You're going to walk away with a plan because remember, you cannot do every single thing at once, right? So I'm going to help you to prioritize what your starting point is, right? And also, you're going to be able to kind of do some forecasting in terms of your revenue as well, which I'm super excited about. So we're going to roll up our sleeves. We're going to talk numbers. I've got a little visitor here. Piper came to visit. Piper, say hi.
Dog.
Yeah, I know. I could hear them like all of a sudden kind of crying. It's like, oh, I want mom. So anyway, guys, just make sure you save your seat. It's going to be a great investment of your time, I promise. So anyway, thanks again, Amber. I really appreciate you joining us today. It's always great to connect with you, and I am so excited for everything on your horizon. You guys have done an amazing job with this business. And what I love is it really shows what's possible, right? Who would have thought, when we went to school? I don't know. I get excited about that. Like, who would have thought the world really is your oyster, truly. So I'm a big believer in that. So anyway, bye for now. And I'll look forward to seeing you guys on Tuesday the 9th. So make sure you save your spot, and we are going to map out your multiple streams of income. All right, everybody. Bye for now. Thanks again, Amber.
Thank you.